Stanton Nelson Foundation Healthcare owns surgical centers in the Midwest. Hospital stocks have done very well over the past 12 months. You're looking at Universal and Community Health. But does the business reflect the boom in the stock prices?
Absolutely. You know, with baby boomers becoming of age, about 10,000 a day, you're starting to see the throughput of that. Individuals needing replacement of hips, knees, and those types of things. So as people become of age and the baby boomers doing that, absolutely, you've seen that.
And then what about Obamacare? That's another driver, from what I hear, of pushing people into hospitals. The volumes are just going up.
Well, for us, I mean, at least in our model, we haven't seen the throughput from Obamacare, but I know acute care hospitals have had an impact, and I think that's a reflection of Obamacare and some of the things that's happened there. So,
can you talk more about your particular model, because it's a high-touch model, right?
It is. So it's pretty straightforward. So typically, we would like to own 51% of a surgical hospital. The physicians are our partners and surgeons that own 49%. And with that, you know, our focus is basically on high quality of care. So high touch. So typically, you know, the nursing ratio is a lot lower than in an acute care hospital. But we're solely focused on making sure the outcomes are very good. And just recently, CMS came out with a report that 3,500, that they did a survey of 3,500 hospitals where they rated hospitals from 1 to 5 stars, 5 stars being the best. There were 251 hospitals that they rated a 5-star, and Foundation actually had 3 of those hospitals as 5 stars. So very impressive about quality of care at Foundation hospitals. How
many hospitals do you have right now? What are your expansion plans?
So we have 3 today. We just sold one of our facilities, which we'll talk about. But expansion plans very aggressive. So now that we've cleaned up our balance sheet, we'd like to be acquisitive here in 2015, which we plan to do.
Well, you just mentioned you sold a stake in a hospital in Texas. I think you got about $9.3 million from that. So tell me what your plans are for that money, and you know, where are you going to put it? Because there's a lot of opportunities in the Midwest. There's a lot of competition too, which we'll talk about that in a second.
Right. Well, initially, you know, we did pay down some debt. We expect to receive an additional $4 million from the sale of that real estate. So effectively, it'll be about $13 to $14 million transaction. The great thing about that is that since it was a minority-owned hospital for us, from a revenue standpoint, we're only going to lose about $1.5 million of net revenue. We did about 105 last year, so it's going to have a very little effect, but also, you know, it cleans up our balance sheet by adding that cash to the balance sheet and paying down some debt. But beyond that, you know, like I said, we'd love to be aggressive here and acquisitive here in 2015, and we plan to do that.
And a lot of people are being aggressive and acquisitive. A lot of your competitors, I guess it's like AmSurg and Nobilis and Surgery Centers of America. They're out trying to buy hospitals as well. So are you finding the prices are getting bid up?
You know, there is strong competition, but you know, our selling point is a couple of things. You know, we want to be great partners with our physicians. We bring the expertise from the management side. So you know, multiples, you know, tend to range between 6 and 8 times EBITDA, and we feel like that given that, you know, we have the ability now to make that next acquisition.
And then finally, your market cap, I think it's a little over $70 million right now. You'd be a nice acquisition for some of those other larger companies. Do you ever consider that?
Not at this point. I mean, we're tightly held as a company. We want to stay that way, you know, at least initially. We have a very straightforward strategic plan that we'd like to enact on. So our plan is to execute on that 5-year strategic plan, and we'll see what happens after that.
All right, thanks a lot, Stanton.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you for watching The Street.